Hello, hello, hello! Andrew here, and as promised, since the Sherman household is still on quarantine, I figured we'd do something a little different today. Recently, I was inspired by a Tom Nash video that brought up the fact that everybody wants to talk about their wins, but nobody seems to ever want to talk about their losses. And this creates a conundrum because when we're only putting our best faces forward out here on YouTube to the community, this means that when you actually have problems yourself and you have trades that go against you or investments that go against you, you tend to think that, like, maybe you're not good enough, or maybe you're not cut out for this, or possibly even that, you're just a failure. And I know on this channel I have a big, I tell you at the end of every single episode that failure isn't bad, failure to try and learn is, but it's still hard to get mentally over. And right now, let's be real, even on this episode, I've talked a lot about my best successes, whether they be Tesla, Palantir, and other investments in real estate. I haven't talked so much, though, about some of my biggest failures, even this last year, right? So I figured this episode would be a good time to go over some of those massive failures, and that way, you can see that, hey, I'm not infallible, nobody's infallible, and anybody who tells you they don't make a bad trade or don't make any bad investments, they're just full of crap. It's not the way it works, and we're all in this together. See, what some of you don't know is the idea that this year I actually just, for the first time ever, dipped my toes into the water for real swing trading and also for options tools, right? This is the first time ever I've actually tried executing either one of those tactics in any kind of massive way. And I have to say that in the very beginning, when I started swing trading, I thought that I could do no wrong. And this is a common failure for most people, right? You have a good first month because you have some good luck, and then afterwards you get a little too cocky and you get a little bit away from the fundamentals. And you can see here in February, I took a pretty massive hit. And basically after the first 2 months, I was still, even though I had made a bunch of money in my first month, I was actually down overall after the first two. And the real stretch of this was, the fact between one major week in February, which was basically like February 3rd to February 9th. It's when we hit the top, and I thought, a lot of my growth stocks could only go higher, and I was trying to play the movements and the price action, and I just got bamboozled. Most notably, you can see here, Crispr this year. I bought in at $165, and I sold it after I got out of it for $113. And that was as it was going down. And today, if you're going to look at Crispr, I'm just curious what Crispr is looking like right now. CRSP. It's trading at $97 right now. So, I got out of it at $113. Now, my long-term bullish thesis on the company, to be clear, is that this is easily a 10 to 15x stock. Probably now it's in the range of a 20x stock. But I'm going to say that the more I follow Crispr, the slower that time horizon looks to me, because, why, yes, genetic engineering is a big deal. The people don't understand it. And it's kind of like it's got to go through this FUD scenario like Tesla did, and where it's actually producing results rather than just being in prototype phase. And I kind of feel that's where that's at. Looking at another one that I had, VIXI. Oh my God. I have heard about the VIX forever. For anybody that hears Jim Cramer talk about his favorite metric to be looking at, it's fear and whether or not people are fearful. Well, the VIXI is basically Fidelity's terminology for small cap index funds that trade off of volatility, and basically it's a small cap fear index, right? I bought into this thinking, okay, well, right afterwards I'm going to hedge my bet. I'm going to hedge my bet with having this, growth stocks, and then I'm going to play off fear. So if one of them goes, higher, like fear goes higher, well, then, maybe I'll lose over in Crispr. I'll have to hold on to it for a little longer, but at least I'll make a ton of money off of my fear index, right? It turns out that I got in at 1421 and I picked up 1,469 shares. I lost another $4,000 right away at the beginning of the month because I had to sell it for 1090. And there was no, I should have cut my losses a long time beforehand. I held on to this thing for a solid month, and one of my friends can tell you verbatim, I called him every day like hoping it would just come back, hoping it would come back. And now if we go back and we take a look at what VIXI has done since, well, if we go back and look at VIXI, they've actually had, you know how in Tesla we had a stock split? Well, VIXI has done so bad, you would think that it's up to 17 right now. They've actually had to go back and do a stock merger, right? So like it's just been so bad, so bad. VIXI actually did a 5-to-1 merger on Yahoo a long time ago, and I mean because it was trailing way down, and I was trying to play it right around here, right at the beginning, right? I was trying to play it right around there in the beginning, and I just got obliterated. I got obliterated on VIXI. Lost 20-some%. Couldn't help myself out. Yeah, it was bad times. Lost $4,000. And then Clover. Oh, my heaven help me, Clover. Clover, my Chamath polyhapatia favorite. It's, I got in at $12.37. My price target on the stock is $20. I'm a firm believer. I'm going to sit here and tell you straight up, I am a firm believer that my price target being $20, that I am not overshooting this at $20 for Clover. But I did something really, really, really stupid with Clover, right? I got in, I held it, and when I figured that I wasn't making any money, I continued to hold it, and I held it so long that when I got out at $7.68, so I lost 37.98% or 0.91%. And then come down here in March, I got back in. I got back in at more than what I sold. I got back in. I got back in so much, and you'll notice I didn't fill this out all the way through the year. I got back in so much that I'm like, all right, it's at the rock bottom. It's been hovering right around that $7, $8 mark. There's a point in time it's going to go ahead and shoot up, right? I know it's heavily shorted. Eventually it's going to work in my favor. And I did the dumbest thing of all time. Not only did I just throw away and lose money because, I lost it by selling it and losing 37%, but then I got back in and I just started learning what the heck puts and calls were. And you guessed it, I sold a bunch of calls for $10. Yep. Now, does anybody have any idea? Do you remember what happened? My first month went perfect for selling calls. Does anybody remember what happened to Clover stock? Because after I did my first month, I thought, you know what, let's extend this out. And I'll just go ahead and I'll sell my calls all the way up until August. Does anybody remember what happened in the middle of June? Right? Oh, that's right. I was sitting here with my Clover calls, already down to $6.84. So I sold $10 calls and I pushed it all the way out to August. Well, because it was all the way out to August, when we had this short spike and it made it all the way up to $22. I mean, to be real, the 52-week high, it made it to $28.85 during that period. $28.85. And I'm sitting there holding a call for $10 that's 4 months out, not able to go ahead and take advantage of what effectively was a quadrupling of the price back then. Even at my second buy-in, my first buy-in, and I've been at 100%. But nope, there I am holding the bag on a call for $10, which I bet you I maybe sold for 30 cents, right, per call, which means I made $30 per, and I had 1,300 shares at this point in time. No, I'm sorry. I had 2,100 shares at this point in time for the Clover stock. So 2,100 shares, I'm missing out on literally 100% bangers. I want to say that the cost was like $30,000 because I was an idiot and I sold calls in my swing trading account. And here's what's worse, guys. Here's what's worse. I'm going to show you something else, right? we should be looking at my Fidelity account right now. And I have some information here because I do different types of strategies, right? And you'll notice, what do I still have here in my swing trading account? I'm still holding freaking Clover. Still, to this day. It's like I don't know, it's like I'm getting beaten and I like the pain. Like, I feel like I'm in the bottom of the hole with Buffalo Bill and somebody's like, it puts on the lotion. And I'm like, yes, massa. It puts on the lotion. Like, that's actually how I feel right now with Clover stock. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why I do this to myself. But it's like, worst trade, probably the single individual trade this year that made me the maddest was that Clover. Holy smokes. And I'm still selling calls on it, trying to drop my cost basis down to justify what I did earlier, right? Because sooner or later, it'll all work out, right? Just, oh my God. Made me so mad I couldn't take part of that short squeeze. Because I had so many shares, all locked up because of a contract. So moving on, now that I've gone through PTSD there, let's go back over here. Oh yeah, Holiday, all right, HOL stock. Let's go ahead and talk about them. So I got turned on to this one by Charlie over at Zip Trader, right? So Holicity, it was a merger stock, and I think it's Astra now. Astra, A-S-T-R-A, A-S-T-R-A. So I got into it at, what was it? I got into it at $19 back when it was Holicity. And yeah, I think my trade out of it was $12.94. Yeah. Now, long term, I'm bullish on this company, right? Like, I can't say I'm not bullish about space travel. I am. And maybe, just maybe, I should start building a small position back in, see if I can't buy some leaps and get some of my money back. But yeah, it was pretty painful. pretty painful because, again, all that time, just February to March, I was losing the money. Losing, right? I mean, and then Tesla, of course. I'm like, oh, let's play the price action on Tesla. It dropped from $900 to $810. Let's be smart now, buy 16 shares there in my swing trading account, right? What happens? Bastard goes all the way down to freaking sub 500s. Or it was 550. You all probably saw this. Like, and at that point in time, by mid-March, right? I already lost $4,000 in. You might all remember, by mid-March, I put out a video of how I had to sell a couple hundred shares of Tesla because I was worried about getting margin called. Like, it was, man. And what's the bad part about it now is if I did this now, let's see what so I sold Tesla at $607, right? I sold it at $607. So, just to be clear right now, it's trading at 904. How much is 904? $300 times 200 shares, right? $300 times 200 shares. What is that? 300 times 200. Oh yeah, I just, could have kept myself another $60,000 of profit had I just not been a little whiner baby and gone ahead and I'd hold my shares. Yeah, a little bit of pre-planning there. So I guess my thought process is on this, guys, is, I don't want to get you where you're not trusting people online, right? That's not the idea, right? The idea is just to go ahead and make certain that you keep it in mind that even people who are on YouTube, big or small, we all make mistakes. We all have trades we wish we would have done differently. We all have investments we wish we'd have done differently. I won't lie, I can't complain about this year as a whole because even though with all of those issues, my wins have well outweighed my losses. And right now, in my swing trading, when I'm selling options, and I'm selling puts and I'm selling calls, I'm making a pretty good amount of money. I'm making anywhere from $4 to $6 grand a month. But there are times that you get greedy, you start FOMOing, you put the cart before the horse, and you get smacked back down. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've got friends that are going to watch this video and they're going to tell me, Andy, you didn't talk about XERS. You told me to buy into that short squeeze, and that short squeeze now from being when we got into it, what happened? XERS, I think that's at like $1.97, and I was telling people about my friends that I was getting into it at it's at $1.89, and we got into it, right here at $3.12, got all the way up to or maybe we got into it here about $4, and we got up to $4.80, and then I decided I was going to get out of it right here, about $4. But I know I've at least got one friend who's still got a couple of shares. And it's trading at $1.88. And I told him, I'm like, listen, dude, it was time to cut our losses long time ago. So, again, it's good to laugh about. It's good to go ahead and show. It's good to own it. Because not everything you do in life is going to be a success. And you learn from your failures, right? Like, I now know how to manage margin better than I ever knew how to. And I evaluate swing trades differently than I ever did before. I now am more into selling puts and selling options deeper in the money, or deeper in the money for puts and more out of the money for calls. So that way I know I'm looking at collecting premium. And I don't do that stuff typically in my swing trading accounts, right? Like, every dollar has a plan, and I'm not trying to reach for the stars. So that's kind of my thoughts on it today. I hope that this impromptu episode treated you fine. What I want to know, though, is how you feel about this, if you've lost any money this year, and what your biggest losers are. Tell me about it down in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, get that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and consider sharing this with some of your friends. They may need a good laugh about some of the money that I lost. If you kind of like this content, don't be afraid to go over here and check out this video that I recently put up on Tuesday. It was another impromptu video just talking about patience and why sometimes it's better to sleep on things than it is to go ahead and to just jump and FOMO into something. And until next time, I'm Andrew Sherman. This is the Dad Manual. And remember, failure isn't bad. Failure to try and learn actually is.